There is something about your life that has never quite made sense to you, not fully, not in a way you could explain to anyone, without sounding strange or misunderstood. It's like you've been walking through the world carrying something invisible, a weight you didn't choose, a depth you didn't ask for, a sensitivity that makes everything feel louder, heavier, more real. And there are moments when you pause and wonder, why me? Why does everything seem to reach me this deeply? Why do I feel things others ignore? Why do I struggle in ways that don't seem? Does it feel like I've been fighting battles no one else can see? Maybe you felt it in the quiet late at night, when everything slows down, when your mind refuses to rest, when your heart starts replaying everything you've carried, the disappointments, the confusion, the loneliness that shows up even when people are around you and you sit there wondering if something is wrong with you. But what if nothing is wrong with you? What if the very thing you've been questioning is actually the evidence that you were never ordinary to begin? Are people who move through life untouched, unaware, unmoved, and then there are people like you who feel deeply, who notice things others carry, burdens that don't always belong to them, who sense when something isn't right even before it becomes visible. You didn't create that, you didn't choose that, that was placed inside you, and maybe no one ever explained it to you. So instead of understanding it, you learned to hide it, you learned to shrink it, you learned to call it weakness. But it was never weakness, it was weight. And not just any weight, spiritual weight, the kind that doesn't show up in physical form but still leaves you exhausted, still leaves you questioning, still leaves you searching for answers you can't seem to find in ordinary places. There are moments when it feels like life has been harder for you than it should be, doors closing without explanation, people leaving without warning, opportunities slipping away just when you thought things were about to change, and you tried to make sense of it. Logically, you tried to fix yourself, adjust yourself, improve yourself, thinking maybe if you became better things would finally work out. But deep down there was always a quiet voice whispering, this is deeper than that, this isn't just about circumstances, this is something spiritual. And maybe you ignored that voice, maybe you pushed it aside because it felt too big, too overwhelming, too unknown. But it never really went away. It stayed with you in your thoughts, in your questions, in the way your heart reacts to things most people don't even notice. There's a reason for that. There's a reason your spirit has been carrying more than you can explain, because your life has never been random. Even the parts that felt chaotic, even the moments that felt meaningless, even the pain that seemed unnecessary, none of it was without purpose. There's a passage that says, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against things we cannot see. And if that's true, then it means some of the battles you've been fighting were never meant to be understood with your mind alone. Some of them were spiritual, and you felt them even if you couldn't explain them, even if you didn't have the language for it. You've been carrying something deeper than you realized, and instead of recognizing it as spiritual weight, you blamed yourself. You thought you were too emotional, too sensitive, too complicated. But what if your sensitivity is actually awareness? What if your depth is actually, if your struggle is actually evidence that your spirit has been engaged in something far beyond what your eyes can see? Think about the times you felt overwhelmed for no clear reason, the moments when your heart felt heavy even when everything around you seemed fine, the sudden waves of emotion that came out of nowhere. You tried to ignore them, tried to distract yourself, tried to push through like everyone else seems to do, but it didn't work, because what you were feeling wasn't surface level, it was deeper. And maybe no one told you this, but your spirit recognizes things before your mind understands them. That's why you feel things so intensely. That's why certain environments drain you. That's why certain people shift your energy. Without saying a word, you've been navigating a spiritual reality without fully realizing it. And because you didn't understand it, you started to feel lost inside your own life. You started to question your identity, your purpose, your worth. There were moments when you felt like giving up, moments when you wondered if anything would ever change, if you would ever feel peace, if you would ever feel like you belong somewhere. And still, hereafter everything, after all the confusion, all the pain, all the unanswered questions, you're still here. And that alone says something, because people who are not meant for purpose do not carry this kind of endurance. They do not survive this kind of internal weight. There is something sustaining when you don't realize it, even when you don't feel it, even when everything in your life seems uncertain. There is something holding you together. There is a verse that says, before you were formed, you where known not just seen not just noticed known that means your existence was intentional, your design was intentional, even the parts of you that you don't fully understand, they were not mistakes, they were placed there for a reason. You've been trying to figure yourself out from the truth about you is not external, it's spiritual, and until you begin to see yourself through that lens, things will continue to feel confusing because you're trying to measure something spiritual with natural understanding, and it doesn't work that way. Your spirit has been carrying more than you think can. It's time to stop seeing that as a burden and start seeing it as a sign that there is more to your life than what you've been told, a sign that you were never meant to live on the surface, a sign that there is purpose hidden inside everything you've been through, even the things you wish never happened, even the moments that broke you, even the seasons where you felt completely alone. None of it was wasted. It shaped you, it stretched you, it prepared something inside you that you haven't fully stepped into yet. And maybe that realization feels overwhelming. Maybe part of you resists it because stepping into that kind of understanding means change. It means letting go of old ways of thinking. It means accepting that your life is not ordinary, and that comes with responsibility, but it also comes with clarity and peace, the kind of peace that doesn't come from everything being, from finally understanding that you are not lost, you've just been seeing yourself the wrong way, and right now maybe all you can do is sit with it, settle, let it breathe inside. You don't have to have all the answers today, you don't have to figure everything out in one moment. Just begin with this: you are not who you thought you were. There is more to you than what you've been able to see, and the weight you've been carrying, it's not there to break you, it's there because your spirit was built to handle something greater. And know in this quiet moment, just talk to God slowly, honestly, without trying to sound perfect. Just speak: God, I don't fully understand myself, but I know you do. I don't understand why I've felt this way for so long. Things have been so heavy. My heart carries things I can't explain, but I believe there is a reason, Evan. If I can't see it yet, I'm tired of trying to figure everything out on my own. I'm tired of feeling lost inside my own thoughts. So right now I just give it to Yao. Everything I've been holding, everything I've been questioning, everything I've been carrying in silence, I give it to you. If there is something in me that I haven't understood, show me gently in your way, in your time. Help me see myself the way you see me, not through fear, not through doubt, but through truth. Forgive me for the times I doubted my purpose, for the times I thought I was broken, for the times I wanted to give up. I did know, but I want to understand. I want to trust Yao of it. When things don't make sense, even when I feel uncertain, I trust that you are working in ways I cannot see. I trust that nothing in my life has been wasted. I trust that you are leading me somewhere, Evan. If I don't know where that is yet, give me peace, not the kind that depends on everything being okay, but the kind that stays, Evan, in the middle of confusion. Teach me how to rest in Yao, how to listen, how to follow, and remind me when I forget that I am not alone, that I never have been and I never will be. Thank you for staying with me even when I didn't realize it. Amen. Just sit there for a moment. Don't rush away from this. Let that peace settle slowly. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to prove anything. Just breathing. Remember, you have been carrying more than you knew, but you were never meant to carry it alone. And from this moment forward, things may not instantly change on the outside, but something inside you has already started shifting quietly, deeply, and that's where everything begins. Something inside you know something has shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but in a quiet, steady way, like a door opening in a place you didn't even realize was close. There are moments like this in life, moments that don't look important from the outside. No one claps, no one notice, nothing visible changed, but deep within Yao something real begins. And this might be one of those moments for Yao, because for the first time in a long time you are not trying to run from what you feel. You are not trying to silence either distract yourself from it. You are beginning to listen, and that matters more than you think. There are people who go their entire lives avoiding that moment, avoiding that stillness, avoiding that truth, because facing it means confronting everything they've buried. But you didn't turn away, you stayed, Evan. If it felt uncomfortable, even if it felt unfamiliar, and that says something about you. It says there is a willingness in your spirit readiness, Evan. If you don't fully understand what you're ready for, and maybe that's how it always begins, not with certainty but with openness, not with clarity but with a quiet yes, a yes that doesn't need to be spoken out loud but is felt deep within. And now that you've reached this point, there's something you need to understand, something that may change the way you see your entire life. We're not just carrying weight, we're carrying responsibility, not in the way. The world defines responsibility, not tasks, not expectations, placed on you by people, but something deeper, something spiritual. There are certain people who are given a different kind of awareness, a different kind of sensitivity, not so they can suffer, but so they can see, so they can discern. They can stand in places others can't attend. Yes, it feels heavy because awareness always comes with weight. When you see more, you feel more. When you feel more, you carry more. And when you carry more, it can feel like too much, especially when no one around you understands what you're experiencing. There were times you tried to explain it or at least hint at it, but the words never came out right, or the response you received made you feel even more alone. So you stopped talking about it, you kept it inside. You told yourself to just deal with it, just be strong, to just move on. But strength without understanding turns into exhaustion, and you felt that deep kind of tired, not just in your body but in your spirit, a tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, a weariness that follows you even on days that are supposed to feel light. And you wondered, does it feel like this week? Does it feel like I'm carrying something I can't put down? Because in many ways you have been, but no, you are beginning to see it differently. You are beginning to realize this is random, this is pointless, this is connected to something greater than you. There's a moment in scripture where a young man named David is overlooked, ignored, left out when everyone else is being considered. Wasn't even invited at first. No one saw him as important. No one expected anything from him, and yet was the one chosen, not because of what people saw, but because of what God saw. And maybe that feels familiar to you. Maybe you felt overlooked, like your life didn't fit the expectations, like your path didn't follow the usual pattern, like you were always slightly out of place. But what if that wasn't rejection? What if that was redirection? What if the reason you never fully fit into certain spaces because you were never meant to stay there? What if the reason your life has felt different is because it is different, not in a way that separates you negatively, but in a way that sets you apart intentionally? And I know that idea can be hard to accept because it means letting go of the desire to be understood by everyone. It means accepting that not everyone will see you clearly, and that can feel lonely, but it also frees you from trying to force yourself into places that were never meant for you. It frees you from shrinking who you are just to be accepted, and maybe that's something you've done for a long time, made yourself smaller, quieter, less expressive, just to keep things simple, just to avoid being misunderstood. But every time you did that, something inside you felt it, that quiet discomfort, that sense that you were not fully being yourself, that you were holding something back, and that tension, it builds over time until one day you can't ignore it anymore. And maybe that day is here for you, not in a loud way, not in a dramatic way, but in a steady realization that you can't keep living disconnected from who you really are, and who you really are is not defined by your past, not defined by your mistakes, not defined by the moments you felt weak or uncertain. Who you really are is something deeper, something that has been formed in the middle of everything you didn't understand. There is a verse that says all things work together for good, not some things, not the easy things, all things. And that includes the parts of your life you wish you could erase, the parts that didn't make sense, the parts that hurt, the parts that made you question everything somehow, even those are being woven into something meaningful. And you may not see how yet, you may not understand how something painful could ever have purpose, but that doesn't mean it doesn't. Sometimes purpose is hidden until the moment you're ready to see it. And readiness doesn't come from having everything figured out. It comes from being open, from being willing, from reaching a point where you say, I don't understand everything, but I'm ready to learn, I'm ready to see, I'm ready to grow. And if that's where you are right now, even just a little, that's enough. You don't need perfect faith, you don't need complete clarity, you just need a step, a small shift, a quiet decision to stop running and start listening, because your life is speaking to you, not through noise but through patterns, through feelings, through moments that stay with you longer than they should. Those are not random, they are invitations to go deeper, to see beyond the surface, to recognize that your life has layers and you've only been seeing the top. There is more underneath, more meaning, more purpose, more truth. And it's not something you have to chase, and it's something that will reveal itself as you stay present, as you stay open, as you continue to trust, even when you don't fully understand it. There will still be hard days, thighs doesn't erase that there will still be. Moments of doubt, moments where old thoughts try to come back, moments where you question if anything has really changed. That's part of the process, but no, you won't be facing those moments the same way, because now you know there is more to you than what you feel in those moments. There is something deeper anchoring you, something steady, something real. And even when your emotions shift, that truth remains. You are not lost, you are not behind, you are not broken, you are in the middle of something that is still unfolding, still forming, still becoming. And your role right now is not to rush it, not to force it, but to walk through it with awareness, with patience, with trust. And maybe as you sit here listening, thinking, feeling, there's a quiet sense of relief starting to grow, not because everything is solved, but because something finally makes a little more sense. And sometimes that's all you need to take the next step, not a full map, just enough light to move forward. And that light, it's already there. You've just been learning how to see it. So don't rush this, don't try to turn it into something it's not. Just stay here, stay present, stay. But because something real has started and it's not going anywhere, it will continue as holistically in ways you may not always notice at first, but one day you'll look back and realize this moment, this quiet shift was the beginning of everything changing, not around you, but within you. On that changes everything again, as everything settles, as your thoughts begin to slow, as your heart feels just a little lighter than before. There is one final truth you need to hold on to, not as pressure and not as expectation, but as something steady you can return to. Gain and agony, you are not behind, you are not late, and you have not missed your moment. Heaven, if it feels like others have moved ahead, heaven, if it feels like your life has taken longer to make sense, and nothing about your journey has been wasted, every delay, every closed door, every season where you felt stuck, it was shaping something in you, something that could not be rushed, something that had to be built in silence, in patience, in the unseen places of your life. And one day you will understand why it had to happen that way, not all at once, but piece by piece, moment by moment. You will begin to see how everything you carried was preparing you, not punishing you, how everything that stretched you was strengthening you, not breaking you. And even now there are things aligning quiet lie behind the scenes, things you cannot see yet, but are already moving in your favor, because God does not forget, he does not overlook, and he does not abandon what he started, especially not you. So when doubt tries to return, and it will, when old thoughts try to whisper the same fierce, just remember this moment, remember what you felt. Hereth is stillness, this claritith is quiet, knowing that something deeper is at work in your life, and you don't have to force it, you don't have to chase it, you don't have to prove anything, you just have to stay connected, stay open, stay willing, because the same God who carried you through everything you didn't understand, he's the same God who is leading you into everything you're meant to becoming. He is not in a hurry, he is precise, intentional, and faithful, even in the wait, and Jevon, in the silence, even in the moments where nothing seems to be happening, he is working again. So are you in ways that matter more than you realize. So take a breath, slow, Lila it out, and release the need to have everything figured out. Right now, you don't need it. You are allowed to grow into your understanding. You are allowed to discover who you are step by step. You are allowed to change to helto, becoming as you move forward from here. Curry this with you, not as a burden, but as a quiet strength. You are seen, you are known, you are guide, Devon, when it doesn't feel like Itven. When you can't see it, it's still true, and it always will be so. Rest tonighter. Whenever you hear this, rest knowing that you are not walking alone. You never have been, and you never will be. Whatever lies ahead, you are not just prepared for it, you have been shaped for it. Slowly, carefully, intentionally. Your life is not random. Your story is not ordinary, and this moment right here is not the end, it's the beginning of seeing yourself clearly for the first time. Stay close, stay grounded, and when you're ready, just take the next step. You don't need to see the whole path, just don't stop walking, because where you're going is already being prepared for you, and you are already becoming the person who can walk into it in peace and strength. Hand in truth, amen.